just taking our communities and making sure we've got good roadway networks because all of us as taxpayers and drivers, we're not happy with roads.
Welcome to today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the seven figure journey. Today, we are privileged to have James Golden with Pavement Management Group. He is calling in from Ohio. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be here, David. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to connecting with your audience here and delivering some value.
Oh, I have no doubt you will. No doubt you will. Just prior to the call, I got to hear a little bit about your business. It's really cool. You guys take all the data that cities and municipalities and things have about their roads. Then you add to that video and this to watch and monitor it and help them make their plans for how do we upkeep these things? How do we keep them going so the nation stays connected instead of not, right? Instead of being potholes and cracks and issues or the paint going away or whatever else. But just for quick, fast decisions. I can't think of a city that wouldn't need exactly that kind of solution. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
How'd you get started? Tell us a little bit about the birth of this thing.
Oh man, I love it. We all have stories, So
That's right.
I like to say, there's no story without the struggle, So we've all got our struggles to get there, but without being full-winded and taking you on an hour journey of it, it all started as coming out of high school. I went into a 2-year technical program, drafting design technology. That gave me an opportunity to get an internship at the Ohio Department of Transportation. And I was just an intern. I did whatever the engineers told me to do. Go order lunch or go, do some GPS locating, go do some, GIS mapping, whatever I had to do, right? And just through those opportunities and looking to really grow and expand on where I was at and what I was trying to do, I've always been big into networking and meeting people. I learned that at a young age. Through that opportunity, someone that I was connected with from baseball coaching. I came out of high school as a baseball player and was helping my little league, if you will. And one of the coaches said, "Hey, what are you doing? What have you been up to out of high school?" "Well, I'm doing this." "Oh, no kidding. I got a friend of mine that runs this engineering thing he's trying to start up. And he's looking for someone maybe like you to help him out. Is it okay if I give him your phone number?" "Yeah, sure." And as you and I can remember, I'm bald here, so I grew up analog. That was the old days where you actually had to give someone a phone number and the phone rang and you had a conversation on the corded thing, right? So this was like 1990, let's call it 1999. So I had a quick talk with this gentleman. He was explaining this pavement management thing he was doing, So you go out into the field at that point in time. You actually get on the asset and you're documenting. So you mentioned potholes. That's just one of up to 20 different types of issues that asphalt roadways have, by the way. As taxpayers and consumers and drivers, we just see bumps, cracks, potholes, right? But there's a science, there's a deterioration situation happening out there. So that's how this thing started. I met this guy at Tim Hortons. I was maybe 19 years old. He gave me a job. It paid me, I think, $5 more an hour than ODOT gave me. And I said, what the hell, let's do it. So I was just coachable. I didn't have any engineering experience or there's no college to go to for pavement management expertise. I just learned through all of his experience. He was in his mid to late 50s at the time. He was an engineer. He was a business individual, a business owner. He was really good in sales. And it was just great to have that individual in my life as a mentor at a young age. So as you can imagine, we both just leveraged each other and grew a little bit of a great little niche business. And then we'll fast forward to 2011. I was the director of operations for his company. We had a good team behind us. We were doing this throughout the state of Ohio at the time. And I just had the opportunity. We won't get into the bad stuff that happens in a lot of these things, but I had the opportunity to start my own company. So I did that in 2011. And then since 2011 up to 2024, there's been about, 4 or 5 iterations of my business, evolving it, bringing on different technologies and skill sets. And as you can imagine, and where we're at today, you kind of talked about cameras, right? So we no longer have to go out to the field to visit a road to get that type of data, to make those data-driven decisions on maintenance and repair activities, performance, deterioration. We can have all those analytics just through the lens of a camera.
Nice. So you started in 2011. You've been building along. You've got a team of 10 plus. I guess you just recently added some others and some leaders in there.
We
You've learned some cool lessons along the way. I mean, you pivoted several times since passing that $1 million mark.
Mhm.
What are some nuggets, a little bit of gold you could share with us that has helped you grow from that point to where you are today?
Great question. So we actually just hit the $1 million revenue mark about 3 years ago. And it was at that time, and that was a hard grind.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
harder than a lot of people think. I operated as a team of one back in 2011. You add a couple pieces to kind of help duplicate what you can do, replicate what you can do. And then your business takes on its own, form and shape. There's other things, other needs. And, earlier on, prior to that $1 million mark, if you will, I was pretty stagnant. I had a growth period. I had a ceiling, right? I was more like a consultant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, what I did is I subscribed to a like a mentorship coaching type platform. I believe in those types of things,
Yeah.
and it helped me grow. It helped stretch me to understand what was actually capable. I thought I was just some niche consultant that I just saw opportunity as my point. So what I did is I set out a goal for the next year to stretch myself to hit that $1 million mark, hit that pretty easy. And then from there, I learned of all the additional things that I'm going to need. So to really get this thing out of the regional component to a nationwide situation, I grew my team from a lot of younger individuals, and I did all the training. I gave them all the skills that I had for the specific discipline. And then you get into this situation, like, okay, well, a million, 7 figures is cool, but now we got to start looking at the 8 figure mark. As we know, like what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah. I love Marshall Goldsmith on that, right?
Bingo. So what we had to do, how are we doing that now? It was I had to start thinking about who is out there in the marketplace, that I can kind of connect with, bring into the company, more in the executive type of roles, where we can really start capitalizing on what I've done but realize that I'm not all, the holy grail here, right? Get the right type of marketing strategy, branding all in place, right? Focus on what the right type of business development plan should be to grow. There's many ways to run a business. Do we need to have 3, 4, 5 different verticals or just stick with this one? Those types of things. And I was looking for people with specific skill sets in these specific areas. So we'll call them the A players, so I had to go out and figure that out. I currently have a business partner. Those were some fun conversations about, hey, how are we going to free up cap space to make this happen? Those are some hard conversations at times. Because now here we are. We've been enjoying some equities, some distributions the last few years, and now it's time to start over almost, right? It's like, hey, let's get back out there, take that risk again. But this risk in this day and age with these types of people that I'm bringing in, it's definitely more strategic, but less of a risk, if you will. They've done some of these things before. They have track record. They've helped build companies and take me to the next stage in the engineering type of space. So that's kind of what it was. I guess maybe a mindset shift, right? I've done a great job at the helm here. That's cool. Who can I go out there to help stretch me and grow me that has interest and a stake in this as well?
Yeah. No, I that is such a valuable insight. We get to a spot, and instead of trying to figure out how do I grow this thing, we start thinking, who?
Yeah.
Who
Who?
is needed to help me grow this thing? Right? If we've got the know-how and we have the mentorship, because you set goals, you found mentors, they were helping you along the way, and you still have some, and you're probably always going to invest in that. But if you've got that and you feel like I've got enough of the inside of how, and I just need to plug in great people who will run the plan, that's one thing, right? We can just always hire at the ground floor, grow them up, do our thing. But if you're seeing something, you're like, I've got 3 or 4 major areas we've got to move on if we're going to expand rapidly the way you want to. Finding that right talent becomes the key.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that. Great, great insight. But that brings its own challenges. When you bring on people who potentially have very different vision. I'm sure you vetted them so where they're aligned enough, or maybe have a value based set that really pulls or rubs. I mean, that can be challenging too. Maybe you vetted that, and you're like, no, no, no. I got the crew. These are the right people. I've networked. I know what I'm doing. You feel pretty confident that the crew together now, you guys have the same end goals, the same why driving you, and the same values. So you're like, yeah, yeah. You base decisions on things I base decisions on. Your gut is speaking some similar things, not about which direction, because you have better decision making than I do on that, but on like what we value, right? Do we value, people over profits on this thing, or do we value profits over process on this one? I don't know. Like there's things, right?
Absolutely. I'm really glad you brought that up. These are the things that a lot of us aren't thinking. I love the name in the title of your podcast and what the initiative and mission is, because you know let's just say in 2024, you can be a team of one and run a $1 million company. You can sell, you can catch a wave and go sell a digital product or something like that. But if you're trying to build a true company that has people
Yeah.
and has value, and you're building market share, and you're trying to make impact in your industry, that's key. It's one thing to say, hey, I run $1 million. Okay, cool. When you're going to try to build a $10 million or $100 million value company, whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And your point is spot on. It is the who, but at the same time, the culture, the values, all of that has to be upfront.
Yes.
As long as you're going to, if you continue to be the operator or the CEO in your as a founder, right? I had to do that from the ground up with the younger individuals, getting them in here. That was step one. I had to go through people to understand that. But this vetting process, oh, absolutely. I, this didn't happen last week. This has been about an 18-month journey,
Yeah.
almost to the day. We were talking about that. It's pretty cool. How did that journey, like in this day and age, we live on a global scale, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
I've got my chief technology officer is in Italy. He moonlights in Bon Air. Loves it. My chief operating officer that I just hired is from the Netherlands, and my business development individual, New York City. Straight up New York. New Yorker through and through. Pros and cons to all of us, but you know what? We're all unique in our own rights. We all have disciplines in these areas, and the best thing to do was to get together earlier on. As we're kind of bringing this together, and we actually built a joint venture to kind of try and a good way to maybe try and test some
Yeah.
things out to see
Yeah.
how do you operate, how do you deal with challenges. There's gonna be a challenge. All businesses, I don't care how what level you're playing, right? So that's kind of how I did that. Your gut is a big driving factor. What are your core values, and what are you looking for in people? Because yeah, you want to go out and have the fun and celebrate the wins and have the beers. In my case, the bourbons and whiskeys and the cigars. Doing the fun stuff and the team building. But how are you in the boardroom when you have a legitimate challenge in front of you, right? People over profit, profit over people. Great example. Those things are going to come up. And it boils down to the interaction and everyone being understanding that we're all just people. We all have our ideas, but they need to be heard, voiced, opinions. And then you know what? Sometimes you have to have the quorum. I get it. You got to vote.
Yep.
And then we respect those types of things. So that's how that all process, kind of unfolded for me. And it took a long time, and there was people that I thought on paper, LinkedIn, you have a Zoom meeting. Oh man, this is it. This is going to be it, and then you know what? Didn't pan out.
Yeah. And
Wait, real quick. The flip side is I'm sure it was the other way. Guaranteed. Oh, this guy, James, he sounded great on paper, but you know what? Not a good fit for
not
me.
a good fit for me.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That is a blessing. The moment you discover there's not a fit, oh, happily run away. I don't care if you feel like you lost 6 months of due diligence time with them. Due diligence succeeded because you parted ways. That's a win. Like I say, it's one thing to date someone, but engagement is not a full commitment. Engagement is saying, now we're serious about this, and a successful engagement either ends in marriage or in a separation, but not in a bad marriage. Right? So, so that's a successful engagement. Breaking it off is a win. All right. So you found some great people, and that's fantastic. And you did some of the due diligence. Did you do that joint venture before you brought them on? You guys did a little like you were doing a try before you buy. You guys were dating, literally. and saying, let's really see what this is like. Let's work together and see if we love working together when those stresses come. And if so, that's a win.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So in this situation, it was more of a vertical in what we were already doing. Let's find something, and this all comes through, networking, being out there in the real world and connecting with other business owners or high performers, those playing at other levels above you. And they're looking for the same thing. They're looking for connection. They're looking to be a part of things, right? We all go to work, we work hard, we were talking about my signs and all the stuff, right? But then at the end of the day, like we're all human beings too. We crave connections, we crave partnerships, we crave those opportunities. And, if you're blessed, you absolutely have those in place at home, right?
Yep.
I do. I'm very blessed. I have 5 kids, got an amazing wife. She's a high performer herself. But you know what? I love her. She loves me. But we got to get out. You got to get out there. You got to go, you got to work. You got to do all these other things. So that's how this started. This was you kind of understand a little bit of, in the audience at this point, a little bit of what we're doing, right? Roadway analytics, municipalities. So we were able to make connections with a mobile mapping company. So mobile mapping is a little different. They're LiDAR, these different types of technologies. And through that, that's how this kind of started. We created a joint venture with one of these companies, and this company was on a global scale. And through that, as you can tell, I met some pretty cool key people.
Yeah.
I also met some people that were like, oh, you know what, they're kind of cool, but I don't want to work with them, and they probably don't want to work with me. But these three key individuals, through this joint venture over this time period, right, we started to see things to where, hey, you know, we can just do this as our team. And they loved what we were doing and the opportunity that I was building to come on into my cap table, make that capital investment, and let's go focus here.
Nice. So
So
you got talent and dollars.
talent and dollars.
That's that's
Oh
a
man,
great hire.
that was a great hire, and in full transparency, the dollars haven't shown up yet, right? We just finalized those stuff. We got the employment agreements in place, but it's
It's
all in
brand
place.
new. It's brand new. That's the
It's brand
agreements.
new, but yeah, that's a cool thing. It's you bootstrap these things, you bootstrap them. Some companies want to go straight to VC, go get the money, and now I'm a slave. Like that's okay. That's how I look at stuff. It doesn't matter, right? There's a route and a path. Whatever works for you is perfectly fine. Mine was, I'm from the Midwest, man. It's just old school. I was a kidpreneur, solopreneur, entrepreneur. The only thing that I know is just go work hard and do it until you get to that spot where, you're going to need help.
Yeah.
You know, at some point you need help, and it can come from the mentorship and the skills and the people, and or you also sometimes need funding, right?
Yeah.
Only so much, depending on how big your vision is and what you need to do and what type of impact you want to make. That's going to dictate how much you need. So to your point, a little bit of both here. Very fortunate. We're able to get a little bit of both. A little bit of money out of all my 20 some years in this industry. I get a couple bucks coming my way, but that's not why we're doing this. The couple bucks is just fine. It's what are we looking to build on the back end of this till we go exit it for a lot of more
Yeah.
money. But the money is just driver one, right? It's really about when you see the money, if we achieve that goal, think about the impact that you will have
Yeah.
had on your clients, your customers, your taxpayer,
Well,
all of that
yeah,
stuff. So
literally on the nation.
on the
Because
nation,
you can't drive out east on a road and not feel like you're in a massage chair in your car.
so
Right? so I'm looking forward to the impact. I mean, let's get this stuff out there. Let's manage this well. Now, if we can just get the politicians to really put the dollars where the data is showing them, that would be fantastic.
that was one of the key hires in my VP of the business development and the public affairs. That
Yeah,
we're making those connections. We've got that. I don't want to say we got it covered, right? But
but you got a good one.
you're right that you got to go there. You got to go there so they can start to fully recognize and understand the real problems from
Yeah.
folks like us that are in the data, doing the work and activity every day.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, I mean, you're doing some great things. And I mean, the nuggets you shared, they're fantastic. Find the talent, find the strength, get the who to help you get to where you need to go. Challenge yourself. Know that you don't know and know that there are other ways of bringing talent in. I mean, you didn't have the funds to pull in three top level executives,
No.
but you had the passion for it. You networked around and they had the desire. They're
Hmm.
coming on board and you recognize I don't have to own all of it. What I need to do is lead it. I need to champion the vision and call the people together. I mean, what a great way to grow that. Great example. Thanks for sharing. Now you're here. What are you facing right now? They're like, okay, here's what I want right now help with so I can move to the next level.
Great, great question. Literally at the table, all I can think about this week is you kind of brought this up. How am I going to pay for this? It's this is a legitimate question. Yeah, sure, I get a little bit of dollars in this. They're bringing a couple of dollars into this, but I think what we're really starting to uncover now that we're having more high level conversations is wow, this takes maybe a little bit more than we need. So now it's about how we're going to fund this type of a thing, the deal structure, and all those types of things. That's like really paramount right now. But I'll give you one because I'm just now starting to think about this aspect of it. I've got global talent. That's awesome. Sounds great, exciting. But let's be honest. You know, yes, we're on a video call right now. That's what we can do in this day and age. You can hop on a video call. You can do it. You can connect. You can have the conversations. But I'm still a little traditional in some ways in some of these types of gentlemen that are coming in. And it's like, man, we're gonna have to have a lot of meetings. And it's like, okay, well, we're in this time zone and that time zone, and I got this and I got that. So I think what we're gonna see as a struggle or a challenge is making the necessary time commitment, connections through our calendars and schedules on all this different stuff and through a remote environment. One of my
Yeah.
fears, if I'm being transparent, is how viable is that? It's one thing to sit in, like we just did. It's one thing to sit in the conference room for an 8-hour work session, agenda based. It's hard to do that in this day and age on Zoom calls. I'm sure you can. My company is not used to that. It's not
Yeah.
something they're traditionally doing. So it's just a real challenge. Maybe even managing egos. These are all individuals that have done some really cool things. And so these are some things that are top of mind I'm thinking about right now.
No, I love that. Um, I mean, if you can solve this and solve this well, you have incredible talent, perfectly aligned with the mission that you have to go and execute something amazing, right? And we're talking about taking a one, two, $3 million business and turning it into a 30, 40, $50 million business, probably within a 5 year period,
Yes.
right? I mean, that's the kind of growth that you're going to be on because your market is huge, untapped, and we just really have to build out the plan to get people buying and have the ops that can support it as we move. So, really cool stuff. Uh, but if the team doesn't come together tight around that, the leadership team, then the rest of the staff, the rest of your crew will have mixed signals, right? They've
Mm-hmm.
got new leaders over them in different ways. That's going to cause some problems. They're used to dealing with James, and now they've got someone in the Netherlands leading them, or now they've got someone in Italy leading them, right? Or this New York guy who comes across a little brash compared to the Ohioans, right? And so we've got a few things we got to work through. Um, so these are really great questions. How do we hit the ground running? How do we do well? Can I ask you about your first meeting? You don't have to go into details, but just enough.
Yeah.
Did the four of you in this first little bit of time get ultra clear of what purpose, what
Mm-hmm.
your why is above everything else? That everybody gets it and they know it and they embrace it.
Yeah, actually, what we did post joint venture and leading into what we're talking about right now is we did that. James over here has a vision and a mission, and let's
Yeah,
be honest, I threw that crap together 4 or 5 years ago and tried to lead with it with these guys. Everything's evolving and changing,
that's
and
right.
I'll actually credit in this case it was the New Yorker. He came in and said, "Hey, these are things that we should start thinking about: is our vision, our alignment, our purpose, all of these things."
Perfect.
And you know what? Did we really get to the finish line with it, David? No, but we will be doing that. We just talked about that. We have a planning session set up to do that because, but we brought the conversation up as my point. It was very good to
Yeah,
have that. Someone was leading that. I wasn't thinking about that at that
yeah.
time. But
You got a good team. You got a good team, is what that's a sign of. Because one of them knew if we don't know the answers to who we are, why we're here, and what we're going to go achieve, those are different things. If we don't have those answers, then when we talk about strategy or how we take care of this customer, when we build out all this stuff, you guys can be arguing totally valid points with very different assumptions and end goals. And so getting those assumption and end goals really clear Now we can have meaningful arguments around the best way to serve that vision, but it has to be together and aligned. So fantastic. Your team's thinking about that. I normally find that a solid draft, if facilitated well, and you're like really working it, a solid draft of that, and this is going to seem like, oh my goodness, that's way too much time. It's a full 8 hours. It
Oh yeah.
just is. Okay.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's a draft. That's all that is. And it's going to mature over time. But it's enough for us to get going. And that's a key thing. So first, we get clear about that. Or if we don't, again, all of our other decisions, it's like you're trying to like climb a ladder, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, this is how you climb a ladder. This is how you climb a ladder." Yeah, but that top thing helps us know: are we all placing our ladder on the same building?
Right.
Right? You can have all sorts of arguments, but it's like you're climbing a totally different building than I am, and that makes us miss in the night so many things. So I love that you're doing that. That is solid. And I would lean into that and just say, hold off, don't talk strategy until that one's clear. When it's clear and we get down to a mission, when I say a mission, I don't mean the kind of feel good thing on the wall. It
Right.
will feel good, but it will be also measurable and time bound. So
Mhm.
it's going to be meaningful, measurable, and time bound. So, like something like we're going to manage 10 million miles of roads by 2026.
Hey,
All right.
you ready? We're going to
Yeah.
manage 40,000 miles of roads by 2026. We just did.
40,000 miles.
We just
We
did
got
that
it.
part of it at the end of our session. So like
I
we're
love
starting.
that.
We're starting at this.
I love that. That
Yeah.
idea. What's fun about that is the rest of your team who don't have ownership, they care about that 44,000 miles of roads. They actually don't care about how much you made in your distribution check.
They could care less.
It's demotivating to them. But the miles of road, that's really cool. And you can track it. Like you could literally put on the wall or on your login screen. So I want you to think both. Let that be a
The
hybrid team
logging screens are a great idea.
because you're starting to think remote. So in your login screens, that it's actively tracking, and you could have a racetrack if you want to, finish line and whatever, and you're seeing it track along every mile as it moves of jobs that you've secured, work you're taking care of, until we hit it by the date. And you can have your little flags along that path. It's like year 2024, year 2025, year 2026, and they can see, are we on track? Are we not? Do we need to push harder? How are we doing? That kind of thing. Okay, so that's a key thing. I love that you got to that point with your vision. Now, when that's there, now we can start talking about some strategy, and we have to have that discussion too, because you guys can get there in different ways.
Yes.
You can choose. I mean, you've already got product and you're thinking about your product, and I love that. But are your customers buying from you because you're going to be the easiest company for governments to work with? Are they buying from you because you're going to be the highest quality, name recognition, no one's fired for hiring IBM kind of role, where they're like, okay, you may not be the easiest to work with, but your quality is at this spot that just blows our mind. Are they going to choose to work with you because you're the cheapest? Are they choosing to work with you because you are the most innovative? They set this relationship up, and any new thing that comes through will naturally flow to them because you're always on the cutting edge. I don't know. And it's possible you're disrupting a market and you may be winning in two areas for them,
Yeah.
which that's a market disruptor. Fantastic. But lean into the thing they care most about today in their buying patterns.
Yeah. It's good. It's great
That will
advice.
that's going to matter for your strategy. And the four of you have to be on the same page, because if one of you thinks it's all about quality and we invest until our tolerance is so tight, and the cities are like, dude, get us 60% of the way there and we're happy.
Yep. Yep.
Don't get anal on me. Don't put the price through the roof to hit that quality. I need a reasonable price. What I want is someone who will give me what I need when I need it, and nothing else. Give me the simple. I want ease. Give them the ease first. You know your quality is doing some great things, but we want to lean in heavy in our investment into easiest for governments to contract with it, right?
That's
What?
I was getting ready to say that's the name of the game. It's obviously got to have a quality product,
Yeah, no, we've got to be good enough in everything.
but
But
how can
where are we
you?
going to shine?
Where are you
So
going to shine? How can you make it as easy to contract as possible? All of those different types of things in
perfect.
your strategy.
So your team gets aligned around that. Then they start saying, so what are the key capabilities our organization has to have to predictably deliver on that ease of use game?
Mhm.
What are they? And there you have a software play in there. You probably have a certain account management, liaison thing, a one-click button RFP for the government, whatever, right? You've got some of this stuff going on. Yeah, you're like, we've been talking about it.
I
You're
love
going to
it.
have these things. But when your team's all agreed, then we say, okay, we need these three things. We rock it in this one. We're kind of weak in these other two.
Mhm.
Now you know exactly, and everybody agrees. We know what ladder we're climbing up against which wall. And
Yeah.
we've picked one of them to knock out of the ballpark this quarter. Our resources all focus on that.
Mhm.
That alignment for the four of you, uh, when everyone's had a chance to speak their minds and share and debate and come to it, and yes, you vote, but we also vote at the end. Okay, so you
Mhm.
picked the thing, you've laid out, you project managed this dumb thing out. You've got a team built, you've got tasks that are going to be done. Then you ask that team of four and you say, so what's your confidence level? That one, we picked the right thing, and two, we're going to pull it off in the time we said we're going to. And right, the right thing means going to get us to our mission in time,
Right.
not just the 44,000 miles, but also with these profit margins, this kind of cash sitting in the bank, these things built, right? We have some milestones in it. How confident are we? And if you're not getting 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 from every single one of those four, that's a new kind of voting. If
Right.
anyone's throwing a 3, I love them. And you want to kiss them right on the head and say, great, tell me what we have to change in this plan to get it to a 4 or 5 for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Rework it. We're going to rework it until all four are like, yes. Because now they're not thinking, but I voted for this other thing. Now they're saying, we've built a plan that I believe in where we're at, and you have full alignment. So that's something. The first 30 days, I would say that happens, and we get to that point in the first week.
Mhm.
Um, then there's a touch point, and I wouldn't wait for a monthly meeting on that task force that's doing that priority. Weekly touch doesn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. How are we on the progress? Who's doing what by when? You got it? Do you need any help? Yes, no, no. We do all the work on the side like we normally do. But that meeting is just to keep us on task around the priority. Notice I'm not talking about your operational meetings. I know you have those.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. Now, to your point, this is kind of a new
this is a
addition.
new thing. That's right.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
thing because you've been a solo leader. Now you have
Right.
a team and they have to be aligned. And so I would have those little touches all on this strategic long-term thing, and it will get your team gelling quite a bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, anyway, cool problem you're dealing with. I
It
love it.
is.
There's more that you'd probably do in this first 30 days, but hopefully that first piece, you're like, okay, I got a nugget out of this. I've got something I could do to align us a little bit more. In fact, what sticks out to you? Anything from what we talked about? They're like, this is one thing I can take away.
Yeah, I'm taking all of it away. You guys saw me here taking notes. That's what we do. You know.
You're taking it
So
all.
we're all here to add value to each other, man. So yeah, the bottom line is like the strategy piece. To your point, it's time to go get clear on those things. We've had these discussions. The good news is like we all seem to be rowing the right direction in the early stages. But to your point, we have to have alignment from all four individuals.
That's
You
right.
you can't have one. So for me, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on how to position us in the marketplace. That's why they see me, in that arena. The other side of that, though, is like these weekly touch points, the strategy on how to really, I would say, quality, innovation. Yeah, I would love to go there. I don't necessarily want to be the cheapest, but you know what? This is government, everyone. So they often compete on price.
Hmm.
So it's really going to be a challenge, I think, for us as the four of us to go through that exercise that you're stating, saying where are we here?
Yeah.
Disruption. That's interesting. I don't think we're actually going to be disruptors. Maybe day one, I could see us maybe evolving into the market by year 3, 4, 5 of the overall plan and getting to disruption. I think we're just really looking to kind of come in there and take what we've done very well. And we do know our differentiators, which is really good. What makes us different, what we want to go develop against. The technology side of all this is very important. AI is here. Anything we can do to, you said, I kind of like what you said, like push the RFP button. For us, it's not
That's
the RFP button. For us, it's that you push the 5-year plan button. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There it
yeah,
is. And we're conveying that to city council and the public, and they can kind of help, be more a part of that process. But yeah, I can see the challenges in this. I'm ready for them. I'm excited for them. These types of problems are kind of fun if you really think about it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. They are.
versus the old days of like, oh my God, hey babe, we're not getting paid this week. I got to go make payroll. So
It's nice to be past that.
yeah.
It is nice to be past that. Uh, James, thank you so much. I mean, this wraps up the episode that we did today of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I certainly appreciated learning from you. How could people get in touch with you? How could I don't know if any city people listen to this, but to buy from you, but maybe it's also just the right kind of person who wants in on this game, who wants to help build something. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. The easiest way to get in touch with me, James at pavementmanagement.com. It's pretty straightforward on my email. I'm a public facing individual. I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, as myself. Pavement Pro CEO is my handle. You can go find that, if you like. I've got a podcast called the Better Roadways podcast. It's available wherever you listen to them or watch them on YouTube. So I'm doing all those types of things. I like to consider myself a low-key niche influencer in our industry, to your point, David. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to kind of share that information. LinkedIn, if I'm being full disclosure, that's our pillar of content. Pavement Management Group is very active on LinkedIn. Our goal is to provide value-based content to all the consumers, all of the engineering firms, versus the look at me, look at me, look at me post that you see every day.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to connect with the company, and obviously I'm over there as well. So
That's fantastic. That's what we believe in doing too. And that's why we brought you on. You brought value to our community. Thanks so much. And for any of our listeners who found value in what was shared today, please like, share, do whatever is needed to get it to other seven figure business owners so they too can benefit. They can be part of this community and we can continue to learn and grow together. Until next time.